Good morning all. Here's a Yaskawa Servo motor, model SGMG-20V-2AB. And the complaint with this motor is that it fails alarm A.C2, and that's an encoder alarm. And the encoder is behind this plate right here. And we're going to remove that encoder and install this one here. This is a new one. Now, if you notice, there's a notch right here. And on the shaft where this encoder will mount, there's a keyway, and it fits inside this notch. And that notch and keyway will time this encoder feedback to the servo motor shaft, the windings of the servo motor. That's very nice. I like that function right there. You don't have to worry about the timing. Now here you will need one of these. This is an M8 bolt. And I've rounded off the end of it, and I'll show you how it's used in a little bit, but it helps us to push this encoder off of the shaft of the motor. So the motor shaft rides in this bushing right here. There's the code wheel that rotates, and this will help us push that encoder off the shaft. Let's go inside real quick. There's 4 bolts that hold that encoder onto the back of the motor. Now, before I get all the bolts out, I'm going to undo these 4 bolts that hold this connector up here, because we have to remove this connector along with the encoder from the rear housing, the rear encoder housing. Now that alarm was verified by swapping out motors. So when they installed the new motor, the motor ran good without alarm. So that's how they know that this encoder is definitely bad. Let's get these screws off of here, if we can. Come on, screws. Okay, got 4 screws removed from the encoder cover. Now here's keyway right here. We want to make sure that the keyway of the new encoder goes to our left. It's a real easy job, not hard to do. A little time consuming. I pay a little bit of attention to detail. This is on there pretty good. what I'm going to have to do is get a screwdriver or a chisel and a hammer so we can separate the encoder cover from the motor housing. I'll be back in a little bit. Alright, make sure you got your safety glasses on. Let me step over here. And we want to get between the crease and the encoder housing, the crease between the motor and the encoder housing. There we go. There's our bad encoder right there. Get something to put that rear encoder housing up on so we don't put too much strain on those wires to the connector. We have 2 bolts on the wing of the encoder mount, and then this bolt right here we're going to remove, and then we'll push the encoder off with our metric number 8 bolt. Let's take this mounting bolt off real quick. I grab the shaft of the motor. Let's go in here and loosen up that screw. Still tight. There we go. We have that removed. Now, let's undo the wing mount bolts. Let's insert our metric number 8 bolt. And we're going to run that bolt in clockwise, and that will push the encoder off the shaft of the motor. You have to grab the front shaft, otherwise it will rotate on you. There we go. That was easy. Take our bolt out. There's our keyway right there. Now, what I do, I take a Sharpie and I'm going to mark an X on this to indicate that it is the bad encoder, because we don't want to get this encoder mixed up with the new one and end up putting the bad encoder back on the shaft of the motor. So mark your bad encoder so we don't get them mixed up. Alright, now this rubber seal will come off. Try not to break it. I've broken these before, but try not to if you can help it. Oh, I'm about to break it right there. Okay, come on. Come on, don't break on me now. If it breaks, that's okay. Don't worry about it. Now, there's a little, see if I can turn it around here and you can see, there's a little notch in the rear encoder housing that we can bring our encoder through. to remove it. There we go. Now we got them separated. And we want to use that rubber seal again, so I'm afraid I'm going to break it. But what you have to do is you have to slip the connector through the hole of the rubber seal, just like that. Now we have our rubber seal removed, and we can slip the new encoder through the rubber seal and reassemble it. Now let's set this one off to the side with our X. Don't forget the X. And in just a little bit, I'm going to take a break, but in just a little bit, we'll put the new encoder back on the servo motor shaft. Alright, we're done with our break. That was a good break. And now we are going to route the rubber seal over the new encoder connector. Trying not to break it. It's getting real thin right there. If it breaks, it's okay. We can still install it. There we go. Okay. Now let's install our connector through the notch. The connector wiring harness through the notch. That goes around that way. Are we still in the frame? I don't know. Well, this has to go on the outside. Come on now. There we go. Now we're right. Now we're right. Set that down in there. Don't forget the keyway goes to the left. Just like that. Now I believe we have everything routed right. Just going to go up here like that. I want the wiring harness to be over here like the original one was. So let's just set that on there. Now we got to bring the keyway for the encoder notch right there. Right there's the notch. So I'm going to put it up top so I can see what I'm doing. Y'all ain't going to be able to see it, but I will. So we want to get that lined up with the notch. One way or the other. There, we're in the notch. Okay. We are in the notch. Get my bucket of mounting screws, and to begin with, so the encoder don't fall off, I want to run the wing mounts in. After I get these run in, I'll take another look at the notch and make sure it's still lined up. Okay, those are just snug. Let's rotate. I can see the notch in the encoder and the keyway on the shaft. They are lined up. Good. I need to move this out of the way here. Now we're going to run the mounting bolt in. Just grab the front shaft as we tighten this up. That's good right there, good and snug. Take another look down in there, make sure that our keyway is still lined up. Yes, the keyway is lined up with the notch. Alright, now all we have to do is put our cover back on. After I tighten up the wings, I like to get the wings centered. The wing centered as best I can. That looks good right there. Now if they have to fine tune it when they get this motor back, these holes are oblong, and that allows you to fine tune the encoder timing on the shaft of the motor. Let's put the cover back on. That's probably the hardest part right here, is getting that rubber seal lined up again. But it's not impossible. Let's get these top ones started right here. Don't fall off. Don't fall off. Snug those down. After I get all four run in, I'll tighten them all down. I don't over tighten things. I run them in until they stop going. You go beyond that and it makes it harder to take apart next time. Alright, get my Phillips screwdriver. Let's put our keyway over here to the left side. Keyway is on the left side. last corner. There we go. We're done. Wasn't that easy? Took a little bit of time, but we're good. Let's clean up our tools. We'll set that one on the outgoing shelf. Hope you enjoyed that video. That was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun. I like doing stuff like that. Not too hard. Get the right tools and the time to do the work, and you can get it done. All right, all. We'll see you next time. Enjoy the time with your family. Enjoy your time on this side of the dirt. Before we get out of here and head to the hooch, I'd like to say a couple of things about this bad encoder right here. Mainly, don't throw these things away. Well, there's parts on here that you might have to use in the future. Let's say you get another motor in the shop and in shipping or whatnot, or maybe at the factory. This connector here was damaged, sheared off or plowed over. You could take this connector from this bad encoder and put on your other servo motor feedback device. Also, there's some ICs on here. There's like 3 LM319 surface mount ICs that you might be able to use. You can use this mounting wing. If it gets bent or broken, you could use that mounting wing. So, in passing, don't throw nothing away. Keep everything. We have parts in the North 40 from units that are no longer made, say from the 70s, 80s, 90s. The device is bad back there, but there's parts on that bad device that we take off to repair other old units. So don't throw nothing away if you can help it. So hang on to things. It doesn't hurt. We'll see you next time.